Hello, friends, and welcome to the Virtual Strangers review discussion of Journey for Elysium. I'm your host, Wes. With me, as always, my good friend, Roots. Roots, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing good. I'm energized and ready to talk about VR.
I am too. Always ready to talk about VR. It's like if I'm not playing VR and I'm not, eating or sleeping, I'm ready to talk about VR. And it's been a few days, so let's go ahead and get started. Journey for Elysium. What is it? Well, it's um, it's kind of a light puzzle slash adventure game that just came out on Halloween, October 31st, 2019, brought to us by the developers at Mantis Games and published by Kronos Interactive. And we want to go ahead right off the top here and thank Kronos Interactive for providing us a review key for this game. Roots, so we've been watching for a while, waiting for this one. We saw it, I don't know, what, about 2 months ago was it that we first saw this game?
Yeah, I think you got the demo, and I was kind of like bummed out, or not the demo, the beta. I didn't get into it, and we were psyched to check it out, and um, yeah, it was pretty cool to get a key.
Yeah. It I was pretty excited pretty much from the get go with this one. And basically, a lot of that for me was the fact that this game, in a few different ways, visually reminds me of Here They Lie. Obviously, there's the monochrome, uh, you know, it's black and white. There's very little color in this game, which is similar to Here They Lie. But also, as you get toward the later stages of Here They Lie, you start to come into these areas with these monolithic structures and big, vast areas with tall mountains all around, vast bodies of water. Uh, Here They Lie does a great job of using large scale to make an impression on the player, and I felt like these guys did a good job of that as well. Did you notice that yourself?
Yeah, I thought the buildings, everything about the way this looked really amazing. And I really liked the movement in the canoe, or the going down the river Styx. Felt very natural. I felt like I could really get a good rhythm, and I could even get going pretty damn fast. But yeah, I was definitely impressed with the way it looked, a lot more than I thought I would be. And when I cranked up the super sampling, it looked amazing.
Yeah, I super sampled it myself, 200% in Steam. I don't know what the Oculus equivalent to that would be, but this is a Steam game. I don't even think you can buy this on the Oculus Store at this point in time. I could be wrong about that. Uh, I guess I should note that it did release for 19.99, so $20, released on Halloween. It just hit the store. So what kind of game is this? Well, like I said, it's an adventure game. Um, a light puzzler. Some people are intimating that it's kind of a walking sim, but I wouldn't consider that to be true. Here They Lie, sure, that was a walking sim, but you're doing stuff here. You're playing. You can die, even though your death isn't very consequential. You're already dead. I guess we should start there with the premise of the game. Uh, the game opens and you're basically uh, standing atop this cliff overlooking the ocean. All of a sudden, the rocks that you're standing on give way and you fall to your death on the shore. And you awaken to find yourself in this black and white afterlife, and this glowing orb is sitting in front of you, talking to you. And it explains to you that you're dead, that you're in the underworld, and that you're going to have to make your way through the underworld to find your way to Elysium, which is paradise. You're told that this is where your family is. And the only way to get there, though, is by putting together the memories of your life. and by remembering your life and memories of your loved ones, you'll find the way to your loved ones uh, and progress through the game. Um, a fairly unique concept for a game, wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, yeah, and it was actually very intriguing, the whole story all the way up to the end. Once you finished it, the way that it ended, definitely wasn't per se how I would have wanted it to end. But it was a good ending, so I'll leave it at that. Don't want to ruin it for anybody. But yeah, I definitely think anybody that says this is a walking simulator is crazy. Just because there are puzzles, you do have to use this harp or whatever the hell this thing is. You do have to. You saw the bow and arrow, which I saw you cheat with the arrow there. You didn't shoot it at the thing. I'm finding out I did a lot of things harder than I needed to do. But you just walked right over and lit it on fire. Yeah, I thought this was really. It's just this game. I went in with lower expectations than I probably should have, and I thought it was a lot better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, well, um, I expected it to be pretty good. I like these sorts of games. I knew it was going to be story driven. I knew it was going to be a thinker, something that provokes thought. Um, I mean, it was a very much a mixed bag. I did enjoy the game overall. I guess I should start by saying that. And let's start by talking about this game's strengths. To me, and we already talked about it a little bit, the visuals. The visuals are, in my opinion, this game's strongest asset. Everything was so grand in scale, but detailed down into the macro level. Um, Everything just looked very good, and it looked good enough that it made me want to explore. You have these games, and with VR, we're often taking a bit of a graphical hit just by having a game in VR. But basically, all you really want in an adventure game is for the environments to look good enough to inspire exploration. And I felt very much so that this world looked good enough to make me want to look around and see all of it. How did you feel about the way that the world was laid out and how everything
Yeah, it
looked?
definitely was very immersive, like you said, and it did inspire exploration. I mean, I wanted to figure out where I needed to be, but I definitely was taking in all the um, environment around me, and I felt like I really went to a real location, which I don't, that sounds like something we should always say about a VR game, but it doesn't always isn't always the case. So I think they nailed that as far as that goes. Like you said, it is a mixed bag. Um, there are negatives, and we'll get into those, but I think the environments and the graphics they did very well. Now, what was it?
Yeah,
Oh, sorry, I was gonna say, was it the sound? Was it this game that it was a pitter pat of the feet, or is I don't know? Maybe I'm
yeah, no, it was this game. It
okay.
was
Yeah,
this
I
game.
felt
Yeah,
like the sound was a little off. Wasn't the best. But I'm sure that was probably one of your mixed bag things. So.
yeah. The sound. I thought the voice acting and narration by the lady who basically tells the story. I thought that was pretty
Mhm.
good. Uh, Most of the sound effects were good too. But you're right. The footsteps, and I even mentioned it in my gameplay video. The footsteps in this sound like you have two legs that are 2 foot long. I mean, it's just like it's like you're tiptoeing across the floor or something, like a ballerina. I'm a pretty ballerina.
It
Uh,
sounds like it's coming from a weird location too. Like it's not really. I don't know. It's coming from away from you instead of. I don't know. It's very weird. So.
yeah, I didn't notice any of that, but I did notice the gate was extremely off, like not even close to sounding what a real person's footsteps would sound like. So some good there, some bad. Visually, very detailed. Now, um, I kind of like the fact that this was black and white after you die. It kind of lends credence to the idea of being dead. You know, it's symbolic. When you start the game, before you die, everything's color. You're in a fully colorful world, and it's only when you die that everything becomes black and white. And I felt that the monochrome uh, the monochrome aspect of the graphic design was purposefully play. It was done like that to not only to bolster the fact and the idea in your head that you're dead, but it also helps to draw attention to the items and things in the world that you're looking and trying to find. Uh, so I really liked the color scheme in this game. I understand why some people wouldn't like it, because it isn't obviously eye popping like a lot of these games are. But I enjoyed the fact that it was black and white. Did it put you off at all that it was
No,
monochrome?
I didn't even really think about it at all, to be honest. And like you said, it makes everything else that you need to focus on pop out. Like even that, thing on the wall there that I didn't see the whole time. But but no, it didn't bother me at all. Now, one thing that did bother me, and I know just from speaking to you a little bit before this, that it didn't bother you as much, is I kind of wanted to see the story play out a little bit in front of me more. Like you'll get to these points where after you interact with these holograms or whatever you want to call them, a little window will pop up, circular window, and there'll be dialogue, and it's like they're talking about you being a bastard and all this stuff, weird stuff, right? In the beginning, and I kind of wanted to see the scene a little bit more, or anything more than just that little window for 45 seconds or 2 minutes or whatever it ends up being. So, but maybe that's just a personal thing, but anyway.
Yeah, it didn't bother me all that bad. The narration pretty much carried it. The storytelling was good enough that I could visualize the scene that the narrator was trying to get across. But I do hear what you're saying here. You know that these developers are talented enough to do good character models and good looking animations, because later in the game there are a couple of fully modeled characters in movement and it looks good,
Mhm.
right? So it's not that they weren't capable uh, of giving us these kind of scenes. So there must be some other reason why they chose to go with this. I think maybe they're trying to uh, hammer home the point that these are supposed to be broken memories that you're trying to put together. Uh, you're trying to piece together memories of a life that you're no longer living. So these memories are fuzzy at first, and they start to come into focus as you find items that are relevant to the scene. But I get what you're saying. At some point, when you fully have put the memory back together, at that point it should click back in, right? And you get a full picture of what things look
Yeah,
like. So I get it
yeah,
there.
even if they, like you said, at the end they show the full dream or the whole thing, and scratch that itch, like I want to see it. No, I mean, it gets a testament to I was drawn into the story and I wanted more of it, more than just hearing, the dialogue. So,
Yeah, yeah. So that leads us into the second major strong point of this game. Of course, like I said, the first one being the graphics, the visuals, very stunning looking game, very effective use of scale to make an impression on the player. The second best thing about this game is just that it's the story and the storytelling. The narrator did a great job. The story was very detailed. It was very interesting. Uh, Challenged my recollection of the mythology that it's based on. Things happen in this game, and gods have character traits that I don't quite remember. So maybe they took some liberties here and changed things up, or maybe I just didn't don't remember the mythology quite as well as I thought I did. But I very much enjoyed being told not only the story of the character, but the stories behind the gods as well. What did you think about the premise here that the story was built
I
on?
thought it was cool, especially when it all came together in the end, and it really, I loved just everything about the mythology, even the buildings. Like you can see it in the artwork there, and it's just really cool. So yeah, I enjoyed the storyline as far as that goes. I don't remember much about Greek mythology at all. So they could have completely changed everything, or maybe it's the Mandela effect of Greek mythology. I don't know, but who knows?
For those of you interested, we get a little bit about the stories of Prometheus as well as Apollo and things. I don't want to go into too much detail about what they say in the game here, but things are a little different with these guys than I recall. But again, we're talking about how long ago was it when I was in the university? 15 years ago, 20. Uh, so yeah, it's been a while since I studied up on this stuff. But a very interesting story, uh, providing context for the character. You basically, as you make your way through the underworld, you're traveling down the river Styx in a boat, like Roots talked about. He really enjoyed the boat mechanic, and let's talk about that for a minute because I did too. I liked the boat mechanic. It was probably my favorite thing about the demo that I tried a few weeks ago, but it wasn't without its flaws in the full game. I seem to have a little bit of trouble from time to time steering the boat. At times it would move perfectly with my strokes, and then would be other times where only my left-handed strokes would seem to have an effect, while my right-hand strokes had zero effect. It seemed like at times I was fighting a current in the game. Did you experience that at all?
I did, but I didn't really notice it. I mean, I did notice it obviously once you mention it. I just kind of did a couple of extra strokes, and maybe it makes sense. Maybe there's some undead under there grabbing your oar, and they're keeping. I don't know, man. There was some creepy stuff in that water. Maybe something's going on down there.
Yeah, those hands were probably the coolest looking thing that I saw as far as uh, making an impression on me close up. The hands and also those creatures with the glowing eyes. Again, something that put me in the mind of Here They Lie when I saw those bright eyes staring through me. It threw me back to that game. But yeah, with the boat, for the most part, I enjoyed it. It was fun. It was a nice change of pace from other games that just have you walking around or maybe driving. Not too many of them have you in a boat rowing through the entire game, like this one does. Um, One other issue I had, though, while we're on the subject, the way that this game is laid out, you're rowing down the river Styx to these different areas that you have to get out of the boat, and you go on land and you go through the level. And basically, the river is the way that you travel between the levels. Uh, but the way it works is there's this glowing circle that you drive the boat into, and then when you stop there, the game automatically puts you on the land. And then when you want to go back to your boat, same thing. There's a glowing circle. You go and you walk into it. You stop, you go into your boat. But it happened to me more than a couple of times where I would get out of my boat and stand there for a second and then make the smallest movement, and the game would automatically put me back in the boat. And I had this happen to me a couple of different times where I'd get off the boat and it would put me back in. I'd get off the boat, it put me back in. And that really got on my nerves a couple of times. Did this happen to you at all?
Zero, man. That's why I'm laughing. It never happened to me. Amazing because usually I would think that that's going to happen to me as well. Maybe I just didn't move and I was very still when that happened, but I doubt that's the case. I don't know. It's weird. I don't know what would
Yeah,
be the case, but I was
seem
noticing.
very sensitive.
I was noticing here as you were, because this is your gameplay. I was noticing climbing up those things. How good did the climbing feel in this? I thought they really
Oh,
nailed
dude.
that for sure. Especially even in the later levels, some of the things you're climbing are moving, and that's what I was gonna say earlier. It's definitely not a walking simulator, man. There's so many things you're doing in here, so many mechanics, so many puzzles. Uh, it's definitely a game in my opinion. So.
Well, first of all, to the first thing you said, the climbing was absolutely spectacular. It was among the better examples of climbing in VR. I would have liked to have had more of it. More, but I mean, I can say that about everything in this game. I would have liked to have had more of it. The climbing was very well done. I didn't feel very much jank. I only had one really hiccup with it where I climbed and kind of my head phased into a rock for a moment. Everything was black and it took me a minute to get my bearings. But other than that, the climbing was spot on.
Let me tell you this,
Now,
if you really want to spice up, this is a little side thing, spice up your climbing, okay? This is any climbing game because this is what happened to me. Let your controller almost be dead, like your left controller, and then because every time I'm moving, I'm thinking it's going to go out on me and I'm going to end up dying or something. And it actually did add a little bit of extra fun to my game. So anyway.
yeah, well, it reminds me of like toward the end of the game. As you get further into the game, this might be the part here that I'm even thinking about. There are timed climbing
Oh yeah.
parts, so you have to be quick, or else you're going to fall because these ledges only pop out for a second, and if you don't do it quickly, you're going to end up falling. And this is precisely what you're looking at here. Actually, good timing.
Yeah, it happened to me a
Uh,
couple or one time at least.
oh, did you actually fall?
Yeah, because I wasn't paying attention, and then I barely got to the edge and then got knocked. Don't judge me. I'm just kidding. uh,
Right, but what you were saying a moment ago about the walking simulator, I agree. But I get it. I get why people would think that this is a walking simulator, and that's one of my biggest negative points of this game is how slowly it starts. It takes a while for this one to get going, and I can say definitively this game does improve from start to finish. The worst part of the game is the beginning. The very best part of the game is the ending, and everything in between. It just keeps building, and not only with the story, but with the gameplay mechanics. As you go, they become more complex. You learn how to solve this kind of puzzle. You learn how to solve this kind of puzzle. As you go on, they start to integrate. So now you have two kinds of puzzles at the same time, and then you get later, and now you have three kinds of puzzles at the same time. Um, very, very well done. But I get it. If someone's only played this game for 30 minutes, I can understand why they might say that it's a walking sim because it is kind of basic to start out with. And even late in the game, when it's at its most intricate, the game kind of holds your hand a little bit too much. It's never difficult, in my opinion. I never really had much trouble with any of it. I died maybe one time through the whole thing, and I immediately respawned at the exact point that I died. So I never felt really much challenge. I felt that there could have been a little bit more uh, in that aspect of it, but overall, I did enjoy what I did here. But I looked at it more as just an activity, an exercise than a challenge. Um, what about you? Did you find any of this uh, at all to be particularly difficult?
Well, that one with the spikes when they're popping up, you know, I didn't. We talked about this earlier, and I'll confess, I didn't see the thing that helps you, and I don't want to give away too much, but there's ways that can help you get through that, and I didn't see it, and so I did die over and over and over again to make my way through that. Had to figure my own way out. I put it on hard mode, and then I did the game, and you did it on easy mode, right. And I respect that. I made it difficult for no reason, and probably took an extra half hour at least to finish the game, but I still enjoyed it even that way. I just thought, man, this is really fucking hard. Why would they do this? No, they didn't do it. You did it, Roots. Oh.
You deserve respect for accomplishing that. And I'm not going to give it away either, what you're talking about. But trust me, people, what Roots is talking about doing by trial and error is a task. It's no easy feat. I probably would have quit. I wouldn't have quit, but I never know when to quit. But respect, man, to be able to traverse that section of the game without seeing the hint that they give you, difficult, man, difficult. So props to you for that. Okay, so we covered the visuals and the sound, both quite good. Storytelling, very good. The handling of the boat and the structure of the game, good with some flaws. Climbing, great. I'm trying to think about what aspect. Well, let's talk about the puzzles for a moment. We've kind of got we've labeled them as light puzzles, not something you're going to bust your brains on. They were fun. What did you think about them? I know puzzle games aren't your favorite thing. And this game, I guess at its core, is a puzzle game. I mean, really, there's not a whole lot of action. You've got a bow and arrow, but the bow and arrow is just used for puzzling. It's not used for fighting until the very end. So what did you think about the puzzles?
I liked it. I liked the actual puzzles. I liked the bow and arrow aspects of it. Like you said, even just little things you have to shoot this and hit that over there to open this up, or doing the different notes. None of it was too difficult, but it was hard enough to do it. I mean, it didn't make you sometimes stop and think about it for a minute, or bang your head into the wall for a half hour to get through parts, but just because you're not seeing the hints. But it was definitely, I think they did them very well. I enjoyed doing the puzzles, and usually I don't enjoy doing them. So, like, even there's ones, where you come up to a pillar and you got to turn around these things, and when you turn them, the whole something physically turns, and you have to line things up. And I thought that was really cool. I thought they did a really good job of making the environment come alive. And it reminded me, like, when you did that musical instrument and the stairs came together, and I keep having this image of Hogwarts and watching the staircases moving and just all of that, and how cool it's gonna be. I know we always talk about what's coming in VR, but man, I'm so excited with just little things like that. Yeah.
I largely agree with what you're saying here. I thought that the concepts for the puzzles were fairly original, and they were fun to do. I do feel like they could have been a bit harder. Now, that said, it's not like the entire game wasn't challenging. You have basically 3 or 4 different puzzle types. At the beginning, during the first half of the game, you're encountering them one at a time, as you go through the early levels. As the game progresses, they start to throw 2 and 3 and 4 at a time. And when it gets to that point where they're integrating the different puzzle types together, that I had a blast with. That actually was challenging at certain parts. And that was probably, gameplay-wise, my favorite part of the game, were specifically the puzzles during the last level. Was that the best part to you?
Yeah, everything about the last level was awesome. And that's why like you said, everything builds and gets better and better and better. Um, it's almost the opposite of most games these days. Most games you start, it's like they started out strong and they rushed it, and then they, half-assed the end. It's like these developers started out with an idea and just kept building and building and building and kept making it better. But even just the movement, the climbing in that last level, it was really cool. I just kept thinking, wow, this is really cool. And I don't think that about a lot of games these days.
It was specifically cool because of the way every aspect continually developed, and it all peaked at the same time. So the story became more complex and more intriguing as it went along. And when the story's peaking, are the puzzles getting more difficult, and the environments all of a sudden are super cool at the very end of the game, and the everything. It's just everything about the game, every category, even the strong ones and the weak ones, it all peaked together. And the last level was especially good. It definitely left me wanting more. What about you?
Yeah. That was the thing. Is like when you get to one of the only things that I would gripe about, and I guess in some respects it's
it's the biggest negative.
Yeah, it's like, I wanted more. You get to the end and it was like, I want more. So I don't know if the devs, this is early access, if they're planning on bringing more, or if this is, they're just going to tighten it up as things go, or what. But I wouldn't mind seeing more.
Well, I would say this, and like I just said, this was the biggest negative of the game by far, is how long it is. This game, how long did it take you to play through this, Ruuts?
About 2 hours, which is, for me, I mean, it was a testament too about this game is like I finished it and would have done it in one sitting if I could have, but pretty much two sittings that were only broken up by a little bit of time. So
yeah, I started over and did it in two sittings today, but only because I had it lock up on me once and I had to restart it. So I took a break then just because of that. But yeah, definitely the length is the biggest downside to it. The quality of the game as a whole was great, and like we've been saying here, as the game goes on, it gets better and better and better. And what the effect that has on you as a player is just that you don't want to stop. You want to keep going. So you play through it to the end. Now, what you said there, I find very interesting, because without giving too much away about how this ends, they did leave it open for more episodes, or at least that's the way I took it. Is that your understanding of it as well?
oh yeah, I mean, it seemed like it, and I'm hoping so. Hopefully it'll be content that comes with the game, just because, or I don't know if they're gonna make it episodes or episodic, but my thoughts are this game is worth $20, but it would be worth $20 a lot more if there was more content. So I guess maybe at this point it's not quite worth $20 in my mind. Not that it's not good enough for it. I just would expect a little bit more for that.
So yeah, I guess that brings us down, down to the final verdict here. This is an interesting one because it is a good game. It's a slow burner. I mean, you've got to stick with it for a little while. You've got to put 30, 45 minutes into this game before it really starts to take off. And even when it does take off, it holds your hand up until the very end. But as for a quality standpoint, this game, quality-wise, is $20 good.
Mm-hmm.
It's $30 or $40 good in terms of how good the quality of the game is. There just isn't enough of it, and that's the biggest flaw with it. Is there $20 worth of game here? Well, that's subjective. We've said it before. It depends on what $20 means to you. To me, man, it's difficult because I did enjoy my time in this game. I do want more. I'm glad I played it. I didn't want to stop playing it the whole time. But I did feel like I had to stop a little sooner than I should have. So I'm going to say that I wouldn't begrudge somebody paying $20 for this, but you should probably wait for a sale. It's a good game. It's high quality, but it's just not. There's not enough game here. This felt like the first level of a $40 game is what it felt like.
Yeah, and maybe they'll add to it, and it'll be well worth the money. And I'm as far as an experience, and I'm like you. I would probably wait for a sale, but I'm also impatient, and I want to try everything now. So I also would be inclined to pay for it. So if you're like me and want to try it now, then it's definitely worth quality wise $20 for sure.
Yeah, if you're the type of person who likes to be told a story, who likes who enjoys just taking in scenery and environments, and likes some puzzling, but it never really gets too difficult, then if you see this game for $15, you should definitely buy it. If what I'm speaking here sounds terrible to you, if you're the type of person who always has to have something that's super challenging and you don't care too much about whether or not the story is that great, you want, top-notch gameplay, probably not your game. Even though it's not broken, everything handles well. Oh, let me ask you this, Rich. Did you use the snap turning or the smooth turning?
It's funny you say that because I used the snap turning for about half, and then because the way that it's worded, it doesn't sound like smooth turning until dawned on me. I'm like, man, what is this? I'm still using snap turning, and I wish it moved a little faster, but I did switch it to smooth turning partway through.
Yeah, that was me. I forgot to mention it earlier in the review, but normally I choose smooth turning, but it has to be fast enough. So it defaults into snap turning. I switched it to smooth when I saw that I had the option, but after about 10 minutes or so of gameplay, I had to go back to snap because the smooth turning was just so slow. I couldn't tolerate it. So other than that, the game handles very well. Like I said, it's a high quality game. It's about as good a quality as you're going to get from an independent developer. It's just, again, it feels like a first level to a much larger game, and I wanted more. And for $20, I don't feel like it's too unreasonable to expect a little more.
Yeah, but kudos to the devs for making that one first level of this $40 game so amazing, right? Like it is good as far as like just everything we just described. It's definitely a good game.
Yeah, high quality, low quantity basically is the name of the game here. And if $20 isn't anything to you, then it's worth $20. In our household, $20 is still $20, and I felt like I should have got a little bit more for my money here.
Yeah,
if I had paid for it, Yeah. All right, so I guess with that said, that's going to wrap up our discussion here. Have you tried Journey for Elysium? Are you going to? Let us know in the comments down below, and if you've enjoyed this video, be sure to give us a thumbs up, and if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe and click the notification icon to keep up with all of our content here on the Virtual Strangers channel. That said, friends, we'd like to once again thank you for watching. For Roots, I'm Wes. We'll see you tomorrow, friends. Bye-bye.
Take it easy.